Good morning, guys. How are we? So if you're coming in live, say hello in the comments. We are across a ton of different platforms right now to try to get the Better Body Academy podcast out there to the masses. So I'm going to bring in Instagram right now, and then we're going to get started on this video in 30 seconds. So guys, how's your week been? Let us know what is going on. Morning all. I hope you've had a beautiful, beautiful start to your week. Ooh, I'm excited. I'm so excited to continue to grow this podcast and to continue to take our message to the world. So guys, I might turn our elevator tunes down and we'll get stuck into this episode. So thanks for coming in live, guys, if you are indeed watching live, and hopefully I can deliver you some value right now. So let's get started. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. And today's episode, I'm going to go back to basics and give you three things that I wish that I knew when I started in terms of transforming your body. And I'm going to share those things with you now. So to those of you joining live from Instagram, welcome. I hope we can make this a bit more consistent on Instagram. We're live across Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and a ton of other places. So guys, first things first, I want to remind you that we're giving away $300 to 2 listeners on the 30th of November. All you need to do is one of 2 things: screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram, or you can leave us a review on the Apple Podcast player, and you'll be entered into the draw to win $300. It's that simple. There's nothing else to do. So guys, in this episode, 3 things that I wish I knew when I started. Okay, so I want to start this episode by reading out to you a quote. And I just I love this quote. There's something about the way that it's written that really hits home in terms of a message to me. You ready? Here we go. There is nothing quite so useless as doing with great efficiency something that should not be done at all. Trying hard without strategy or skill is like trying to become a better writer by pressing hard with a pen. I love that quote so much, and it's a quote by Peter Drucker. So what we're going to be talking about in this episode is this idea of you potentially being in a transformation yourself, or maybe wanting to start a transformation, but just not knowing how to go about actually starting it. If you were doing, working really hard on the wrong thing and you're not getting the results you're after, well, what's going to be the problem with that? No doubt, you're going to feel despondent. You're going to feel almost like start to question, what is it? Am I not good enough? Do I not have the capacity to change? Is it something about me that's wrong with me? I think, we're kind of drilled into us this idea that you need to work harder. You need to work harder. You're not working hard enough. And then when I see the best people in the world at their game, there are people that seem to have more time. Do you know what I mean? And I'll give you examples of people, for example, in football. So where I'm from in Australia, rugby league is a big thing. And our best footballers of all time, people like Wally Lewis and Andrew Johns and these type characters, they just seem to have more time than anyone on the field. And then we go to the other end of the spectrum, people like Richard Branson. They just seem to have more time. And so I ask myself, is it that they are doing something that's kind of crazy and out of the ordinary, or have they just learned what works and what doesn't work, and they're got better at saying no to the things that don't work and do more of the things that do work. And this is why I want to talk about that in this podcast episode. So I'm going to give you the 3 things that I wish that I knew a little bit earlier on my transformation journey. Now, I started probably in a gym when I was 10 years old. Dad got me down to a circuit class, and I used to go around and, lift these little 2-kilogram weights, and it felt awesome to be, doing something for myself and my health and fitness. But now at kind of nearly 40 years old, I've learned some stuff. And the fundamentals of our Better Body Academy program are not to kind of pull out these highly detailed concepts. They're to teach our clients that if you just do what I do, which is actually really quite simple, you will get a profound result, and it will be simple. So let's start at number 1. And this is number 1 because this is the highest priority thing. To those of you that are in the academy, I'm going to be doing some work on this over the next month and bringing it to you. And that is that you cannot outwork bad nutrition. I'm going to say it twice. You cannot outwork bad nutrition. I kind of think that there's 3 main forks that we need to think about when it comes to our nutrition. When it comes to our transformation. When we're talking on the level of things to do, there is improving your step count. So moving a little bit more. There is getting into the gym and doing some structured training. And there's nutrition. I'd call that the trifecta. The 3 things that you need to do. But number 1 importance, and it's the thing that I didn't understand really kind of until the last 5 years when I really started to dive deep into this, is that you can't outwork bad nutrition. I can remember kind of thinking in my early days, like, I can eat and drink whatever I wanted to, and probably to a degree, I was maybe able to do that a little bit more. And the reason is because I was 20 years old, 25 years old, had a bigger engine, and you can get away with more. But then by the time you're mid-30s, early 40s and beyond, you just don't have the capacity to process the amount of food that you did, the food volume that you did when you were 20 years younger. And so what happens is guys get they go to the gym 2, 3, 4 days a week. They work really, really hard. And then they get frustrated after a month and think, nothing's changed. Like, I'm looking at myself in my mirror. I'm not seeing any physical changes. And this is because you cannot outwork bad nutrition. What most people do is they do really, really well from first thing Monday to about, let's say, 3 or 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Particularly people that work in that kind of 9 to 5 kind of office style mentality. They do really, really well. And then on Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, it's kind of like beer o'clock and everything goes off the cliff. And that includes our nutrition. Guys, I always use this explanation to give reasons why you can't outwork your bad nutrition. Let's just take a Big Mac. Okay, you're looking at about 550 calories in that Big Mac. Now, you might believe all these incarnations about what causes fat loss, but I can tell you one thing. It comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that is calorie balance. Okay, what are you taking in versus what are you burning up? And so if you're taking in a Big Mac, okay, and let's say that this is additional to what you normally have on a daily basis, and that's 550 calories, I can tell you on the other side, in order to burn off that 550 calories, the average gym session, you might burn 100 calories, unless you're like training super, super intensively. So what that basically means is you've got to do over 5 gym sessions to burn off that 1 extra Big Mac. So if you could target one side, tone up your nutrition, or work out more, which one's going to be easier? Where are you going to get more return on your investment? It's always going to be the nutrition. And for me, this is why most people that enter a transformation with a personal trainer, who most personal trainers just haven't done the depth of nutrition study that they need to be able to understand how to work on a client's nutrition. What ends up happening is they fall off. They don't get the results. And the reason is because you're only dealing with one side of the equation. And it's the side of the equation that's going to give you less return on your investment. And that is the exercise side. I'm not suggesting that exercise isn't important, but if you have a fat loss transformation goal, then it has to be the first thing you deal with. And I notice a lot of clients inside our academy, this is what I want to do some work on, is making sure that you guys understand this wholly, is this idea that, oh, my step count's over 10,000 and I've trained 4 times this week, but I have no indication of where your nutrition's at. If your nutrition's gone to shit, no change is going to be seen in your body. In fact, you might be lifting weights. You might see some kind of muscle being built over the long term underneath. But if you have a layer of fat over the top of that, no one's going to see it. And the reason is because it all comes down to calorie maintenance and being able to be across this element. And so there is more coming inside of the academy around this nutrition thing, but we need to work out, number one, first, what we're taking in the way of calories, and the most important macro is protein, okay? We get these 2 things right and not train a single day and sit at our desk all day, we will lose fat. Now, we will hit a plateau, for sure. We will hit a plateau. In fact, I want to go back to one of my favorite all-time clients. His name is 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬𝐡. A lot of you guys know him in the academy. He just basically told me at the start that he is just so busy he cannot get to any training. Well, what we did is we just worked on Dave's nutrition. We gave him a bit of a plan, and Dave lost 8 kilograms from memory in the first 6 weeks. 8 kilograms. From a starting weight of around 130 kilograms, he was back close to 120 kilograms 6 weeks later. He didn't do a single training session. All he did was started to track his nutrition. This is the most important thing, okay? So I'm going to leave that one on that note. Number 1 is you cannot outwork bad nutrition. Let's go to number 2. And this is that volume and consistency is far more important than intensity. Okay. Now, for a long period of time there, I used to get into the gym and I thought that everything that I did needed to be drop sets and rest pause sets, big body part style bro splits where I pounded my chest into the ground or I pounded my legs into the ground, and I didn't get a result unless I just destroyed myself. And the challenge with acting that way is that you end up burning out quickly and you can't keep up that level of intensity over the long term. And so what happens is it led me to becoming inconsistent and giving up. And if you give up, you might go hard as hell for the first month, but muscle particularly is built slowly, particularly if you're a natural lifter like myself. I've never touched a steroid in my life. You have to build it slowly. And so what this means is that it comes down to the amount of work you do over time. This is what determines what sort of a result you get. I see guys coming in and they just like train the house down and leave sweating to no end. And they're in the gym for 2.5 hours. And it's just kind of like, you cannot train with that level of intensity, be able to keep it up and see results over the long term. So I see, as an analogy, people might understand this if we talk about it from more of a business perspective. So hands up to you here who are in business of some sort. I know for me to kind of become a coach, people say, oh, mate, Jason, so you got all these clients and it must be great and, kind of overnight success story. I worked for, I'm going to say 5 years on end trying to figure out how to do this. And I made the grand total of about $1,200 in 5 years. Now, if I didn't understand that it was about consistency over the long term, I would have given up after the first 2 months when I put all these hours in and didn't see a result. How many of you guys run a business? And you'll know exactly the same thing. You build, a reputation, you build trust, you build quality over the long term. And so to think that you can just come into the business world, open up a business, put something on Facebook and say, hey guys, I opened my business. Who wants to come in? And then people are just going to flock to your business. It doesn't work like that. And it's the same in a gym. For too long, I made the mistake of just smashing myself and burying myself into the ground to the point where I couldn't keep it up. And then what would happen is I'd stop altogether for a month or two, and then I'd come back to it and say, you know what? I fell off last time. This time I'm going to go harder. Guys, I've got some direct advice for you. I would much, much prefer you scale back on the intensity of training 6 days a week and instead look to how can I be consistent over the next 10 years? You see, as humans, we're just brought up these days to not value the long term. Everything's got to happen now, tomorrow. If I haven't lost 5 kilograms by tomorrow, there's something I'm doing wrong. This should be about establishing the habit of not only training, but becoming a person that has the identity of, I just go to the gym. I just train. That's me. I don't need to live there and be there for 40 hours a week. That's not going to work with my family life, particularly when I'm 35, 40 and beyond. I need to integrate this into my life instead of it being something that's separate to it. And this is why just work and consistency over the long term is far more important than the intensity of any one, week or month session. Okay, that's number 2. All right, so the third one, a little bit more kind of practical to the idea of how to get results. And that is that for me, there are only 3 supplements that you need or that you can benefit by. Now, I'm going to go into what those 3 supplements are in a moment. And a few of you may have, you're inside the academy, you should know the answer that I'm going to give you. So feel free to comment below if you know the answer. What are the 3 supplements? If you don't know the answer and you're inside of the academy, then I haven't done my job. I walk into, supplement stores like GNC or the equivalents of them here in Canada, and I just see products, which is like, I think to myself, like, what the fuck? Like, what are all these products? What are all these products? Everything from your kind of pre-workout to your test boosters to your fat strippers to your collagen proteins. It's just like carnitine, beta-alanine. It's like, man, like I've been in this industry for, did my degree in year 2000, and I have no idea what these things are. So how can the average person come in, unless they've done the study, and just go, yeah, I'm going to buy this stack, this stack, this stack. And so what ends up happening is you leave the supplement store thinking that this is the most important thing to your transformation, and particularly to those of you that are in your young 20s. I know that this is a big thing. You sold this supplement dream, but the reality is you don't need them. There are 3 supplements that I want to talk to you about. Number 1, and maybe I could do a separate podcast episode on this and go into the details of why. But number 1 is creatine monohydrate. This is the cheapest form of supplementation you can take. It is available for a big bucket like this, which costs around, let's say $20, which is 2 months, 3 months supply. Creatine is a naturally occurring compound that it's already in our muscles and our body. We produce it ourselves and we eat it in our foods. And all supplementation with creatine does is to help you get out a couple of reps that you might not otherwise have been able to get out. And that's because it helps you to just milk a little bit more endurance out of the muscle at the weight that you're trying to do. It's not like a steroid that's going to make you stronger. It's just going to give you the ability to perform at the high intensity of weightlifting just for a couple of reps more. And obviously, this is almost like having a spotter, someone who's going to help you to perform the movement and get those last 2 reps out. And this is why it's beneficial. Highly studied supplement, very safe, and has been proven to work over and over again. And the beauty of it, it's $20 for, say, 3 months supply. The second supplement that I recommend is a whey protein isolate supplement. The reason we do this is because it helps us, particularly to those that are in a fat loss phase, it helps us to be able to get our protein intake in without all of the extra calories and ending up way over our calorie requirement. Okay. So when you're in a deficit, one of the things that you should be thinking about is, well, how do I stick to my calorie number, but make sure that I'm having enough protein to be able to provide fullness and to be able to build muscle mass, okay, or preserve muscle mass, so that in the deficit, I'm not breaking down any muscle tissue or minimizing that breakdown. One of the ways to do that is to supplement with whey protein isolate. The protein to calorie ratio, in other words, how much of the scoop that's actually protein versus whole foods is far higher. So you can get the protein in without all the extra calories. So that's number 2 supplement. Number 3 is more of an insurance policy than anything, and that is a multivitamin tablet. For me, I take a simple men's multivitamin tablet. It's very, very simple to take, 1 a day, and I take it with the knowledge that I'm probably pissing most of it out. Most vitamins, if you don't use them in the ensuing days, they're released into your urine and you push them out the other side. So the way that I think about this is, well, maybe if my diet is not high in, for example, iron or some certain vitamins and minerals, I might just take it as an insurance policy. It costs me $15 every 3 months. And that's just, I'm taking it with the knowledge that I'm probably getting rid of the majority of it anyway. Okay. So out of all of those things that you see in the supplement store, what we've talked about here is creatine monohydrate, 3 months supply for $15. Protein, 1 month supply for $70. A multivitamin tablet, we're talking 3-4 months supply for $15. So we've got a grand total there of something like $130 roughly for 3 months. That's it. Yet I see these guys walking out of GNC and the local supplement store with big bags of pre-workout and carnitine and all these crazy shit that just is, the support behind these supplements is just not there. And I can tell you straight away from someone who has kept a decent physique into my latter years, they're the only 3 I take. And so I would, if I could reverse time, I would go back and drop all of the money and the attachment I had to pre-workouts and that feeling of like walking into a gym and feeling like I was trembling. Like, I don't know if that's really very good. You want the option that you should do? You should have a banana and a coffee and go and do your training session. Stop putting all of your dependency on these supplements, most of which don't do anything. So guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. These are the 3 things that I wish I knew when I started. Number 1 is that, most importantly, you cannot outwork bad nutrition in any circumstances, whether you have a fat loss goal or a muscle building goal. If you're not looking after the bricks to which you are building your house upon, nothing changes. Nutrition is everything. And I know this as a dietitian, this is the thing. Number 2, volume and consistency over the long term are far more important than intensity over the short term. So just focus on being consistent, focus on putting a tick in the box as often as possible. And if you can't get to the gym today, that's okay. Pick it up tomorrow and you'll be good. And then number 3 is that you don't need supplements. There's only 3 that I recommend: creatine, protein, and a multivitamin as an insurance policy. So guys, let me know in the comments, which one of these are you making the mistake on? I want to know which one you kind of think, yeah, you know what, I don't work hard enough on that one, or maybe I've made the mistake of putting all my goals into this one. It's really important that you take something practical away from this podcast, guys. So if you got value from this, remember that I would love you to share and tag me on Instagram or on Facebook, or leave us a review on the Apple Podcast player. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. And my friend, I will see you in the next episode.